Essay number 50, How We Lose Our Minds to Other People's Gods. You've handed over the blueprint of your life to an accountant. Not consciously, not deliberately, but you've done it nonetheless. You've let numbers in a bank account determine where you can live, who you can love, what dreams you can pursue, and which ones you must abandon. You've let a salary define your worth and a credit score determine your possibilities. Your essential desires, the things that make you feel viscerally alive, the ideas that shake you to your core, the beliefs that emerge from your deepest self, these have become secondary. They don't pay the bills. They don't impress at parties. They don't fit neatly into a 5-year plan. So you've pushed them aside for what's practical, what's profitable, what's acceptable. And you call this being responsible. You call this being an adult. You call this being smart. But what you're really doing is worshiping someone else's God. We live in a world that tells us if wealth and attractiveness and possessions don't make us happy, we just don't have enough of them yet. Keep climbing, keep earning, keep acquiring. The happiness is just one promotion away, one purchase away, one achievement away. This makes sense on the surface. If some is good, more must be better, right? But everyone who's ever gotten that promotion, made that purchase, achieved that goal, knows the truth. The happiness lasts about as long as a sneeze. Then you're back to baseline, except now your baseline requires more to maintain. You're not any happier, you're just more expensive to sustain. The research confirms what your experience already knows. External acquisition does not yield internal contentment. There's no amount of zeros in your bank account that will fill the zero in your soul. There's no job title impressive enough to make you feel worthy if you don't already. There's no amount of possessions that will possess you with joy. Yet we keep running on the wheel. We keep believing that the next acquisition will be the one that finally does it. We're like gambling addicts, convinced the next pull of the slot machine will be the big win, even though the house always wins, and the house isn't us. Let me tell you about Denis Diderot. He was a philosopher during the Enlightenment, who lived a simple, happy life until a friend gave him a beautiful scarlet dressing gown. Suddenly, his simple furniture looked shabby next to his elegant gown. His plain walls looked bare. His modest belongings looked wrong. So he started replacing things, new furniture to match the gown's elegance, new art for the walls, new clothes to match his new aesthetic. He ended up in debt, miserable, spending his life maintaining a lifestyle that started with one beautiful thing that made everything else look ugly by comparison. This is your life. This is all our lives. We're all wearing someone else's scarlet dressing gown. Maybe it's an Instagram feed full of travels we can't afford. Maybe it's a job that looks good but feels empty. Maybe it's a relationship that photographs well but feels hollow. And we're all going into debt, financial, emotional, spiritual, trying to make the rest of our lives match this one thing that was never ours to begin with. Modern life keeps us perpetually dipping into advertisements and success stories that marry luxury to meaning, wealth to worth, acquisition to accomplishment. It's almost impossible to step back and see the system objectively. So most of us don't. We just keep running on the wheel, powering someone else's machine, thinking we're getting somewhere. I have never seen a God so worshipped as a dollar bill. Never seen so much faith placed in systems designed to maintain power and serve ego. The most effective prisons are the ones where the inmates don't know they're imprisoned. The most effective control is the kind that makes you think you're free while you're building your own cage. We believe in a whole pantheon of other people's gods. Be educated, but not actually educated, just degreed. Be a good person, but good according to whose definition? Have money, but how much is enough? Be attractive, but attractive to whom? Work out, but for health or for appearance. Buy a house, but because you want to or because you're supposed to. These aren't your gods. They're gods created by systems that profit from your worship, universities that profit from your debt, industries that profit from your insecurity, corporations that profit from your consumption, governments that profit from your compliance. When you make choices to be a good person, whose definition of good are you using? The terrorist who commits an atrocity believes they're being good according to their God. The person who disowns their gay child believes they're being good according to their God. The executive who lays off thousands to increase shareholder value believes they're being good according to their God. Good is not universal, it's not objective, it's programmed. And if you haven't consciously examined and chosen your definition of good, then you're living by someone else's programming, worshiping someone else's God. We hand out college degrees like participation trophies, each one a promise of success at a steep, suffocating cost. We call this education, but it's not. It's credentialing. It's conformity training. It's teaching people to compile other people's ideas and call it research, to suppress their real thoughts in exchange for grades, to trade their curiosity for credits. Real education is learning to question everything, to think critically, to understand context and history and perspective. Real education is discovering what makes you come alive and developing the skills to pursue it. Real education is learning how to learn, not memorizing what someone else learned. Look at the game changers, the culture shifters, the genuine innovators. Plato, Nietzsche, Jobs, Lincoln, Edison, Disney. Not academics. They were never taught to believe that one way was good. Their ideas were never edited to match someone else's preferences. They never had to suppress their real thoughts for a grade. The pattern is clear. Exceptional success often comes from those who were never successfully programmed. They slipped through the cracks of conditioning. They maintained their own minds while everyone else was losing theirs to other people's gods. Plato told an allegory of men chained in a cave, watching shadows on the wall, believing the shadows were reality. They couldn't see the fire behind them, creating the shadows. They couldn't see the people manipulating objects to cast those shadows. They thought the illusion was the truth. This is us. We're watching shadows on the wall, social media feeds, success stories, lifestyle marketing, and believing they're reality. We can't see the machinery behind them, the manipulation, the agenda. We're so mesmerized by the shadows that we don't even think to turn around. The danger isn't in having illusions. It's in accepting other people's illusions as our reality. It's in believing that their shadows are more real than our own direct experience. It's in worshiping their gods instead of discovering our own truth. Your life is not measured by other people's gods, not by their dollars or their diplomas, not by their beauty standards or their moral declarations, not by their definitions of success or failure, good or bad, right or wrong. The task of our generation, maybe our century, is to radically accept ourselves in a society that profits from self-rejection. It's to see illusions for what they are, especially when they come with price tags and promises. It's to make kindness cooler than cruelty, wisdom cooler than wealth, authenticity cooler than approval. We can't destroy the systems that don't serve us. They're too entrenched, too powerful, too profitable. But we can create alternatives that make them obsolete. We can stop worshiping their gods and start discovering our own truths. We can stop measuring our lives by their metrics and start creating our own. The accountant doesn't need to map your life. The degree doesn't need to define your education. The salary doesn't need to determine your worth. The possessions don't need to prove your value. These are all someone else's gods, and you've been sacrificing yourself on their altars. What would happen if you stopped? What would happen if you turned around in the cave and saw the fire? What would happen if you realized the shadows on the wall were just shadows, that reality was something else entirely? What would happen if you stopped losing your mind to other people's gods and started finding your own truth? The answer to that question is your real life. Not the life you've been programmed to want, but the life that's actually yours. Not the success you've been taught to chase, but the satisfaction you actually seek. Not the gods you've been given, but the truth you discover. Stop worshiping at altars you didn't build. Stop sacrificing yourself to gods you didn't choose. Stop measuring your life by metrics that were never meant to measure anything that matters. Your mind is yours, your life is yours, your truth is yours. Take them back from other people's gods. Take them back now, while you still can, while there's still time to live a life that's actually your own. The shadows on the wall will keep dancing, the wheel will keep spinning, the gods will keep demanding worship, but you don't have to watch, you don't have to run, you don't have to worship. You can turn around, you can see the fire, you can leave the cave. The only question is, will you?